Assalamu alaikum viewers, a very warm welcome to all of you watching Hidayat TV. I'm Haider with another episode of Generation Gap. Viewers, hearts, prayers and thoughts with all those who lost their lives in a twin suicide bombing blast on 22nd of September in Peshawar outside a church when they were coming out after a Sunday Mass. Salim Haroon, who came to see two of his wounded cousins in Lady Reading Hospital, he says, and I quote, "It is a new war. Before the Shias were the targets, but now we are the target. They want to create a new battle, a new battleground." But who are they, viewers? Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has been operating in Pakistan since 2004, officially announced in 2007, and currently is led by Hakimullah Mahsood. General Hafsa claimed responsibility for this horrific incident, and obviously Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has some sort of distance itself from this statement. However, still the mindset who is behind these attacks and atrocities is same. Pakistani government and the Pakistani political parties have offered peace talks with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. But who is Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan? This is today's topic, and also we'll try to figure it out, that what is their agenda and who are their masters, whom they're trying to please, and what can bring them down to a table if the offer of Pakistani government and the political parties taken seriously. To discuss all this, we are joined by Bishop Dr. Ijaz Inayat from Karachi, Asim Khan from London, and Ali Abbasadi from Sweden. Welcome you all on Generation Gap. Bishop Ijaz Inayat, please, your initial reactions on 22nd September suicide bombing.
It's a part of our national character. Nothing special about attack on a Christian church. It is a part of the terrorist movement, and it is a part of their program, which I call takeover of Pakistan. And I condemn it straight away, and especially when Islam has put the responsibility of defending the weaker sections of society. These actions, supported by some of our ulama, some portions of our government, many portions of our judiciary, they are really making us sad.
Yes, indeed, it is tragic, and
they are bringing a bad name to the country.
That's right.
So,
okay.
Being a part of the nation, I feel that we are all equally hurt.
Yes, and I think that should be the message, that we are all equally hurt. But Asim, rather than condemning this incident, your party leads in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where this incident has happened. So, what was your initial reaction?
I think the initial reaction was obviously of horror and sadness, because this is not the first time it has taken place. Before that, the Christians have been attacked in the past as well. But it's not just the Christians. The Pakistan is engulfed. Every single Pakistani. Basically, we have to see that collectively, that whatever this is going on, it has to stop. And the way it has to be stopped is, obviously we need to figure it out. I mean, we cannot, we condemn that, we can carry on condemning it, we can have protests as well, but there has to be an ultimate solution to this disease, basically, which we have for last 10, 15 years. I mean, we have lost, more than 40,000 people. Our economy has collapsed, our social composition has gone. So all these aspects have to be taken by the government and all the political parties and all the scholars and all the Christian scholars. Everybody has to be on the same page that this is our Pakistan, and we have to make sure that things like these do not take place. And enough is enough, basically. Okay. So this is the initial reaction as any Pakistani. I'm not talking about just being part of the PTI, as any Pakistani would have that. And obviously, being responsible for KPK, we have a huge responsibility as well. So we have to obviously make sure that gets seen as that we are actually doing all what we can.
Okay, moving on to Ali Zaidi. Enough is enough. That's what Asim has said. What was your initial reaction? Obviously, you at the moment you are not in Pakistan. So, and you have obviously worked in those areas for a long time now. So.
Yeah, we have worked against, we have worked in those areas and also against what Taliban do in different parts of Pakistan. It's not just the churches that are not safe, it's the Imam Bargads, it's the shrines, it's almost every market and every institution, including the GHU, that has been attacked in the last 8-9 years. I might also disagree with the approach that PTI takes on this matter, and they claim that Taliban is a phenomena that took place 10, 15 years ago. It's not like that. It was in the 80s. It has been 30 years now. And so it defines the approach, how you approach extremism, how you approach radicalism, how you approach political Islam, and using violence as a tool to pressure the state into your fold. This particular attack on the Christian community, it was like Dr. Ijaz and I had said, perhaps more damaging than the normal attacks. Why? Because it reddens the white portion of the Pakistani flag. It's just beyond words. I don't have any words to express my anger and my sorrow in the representatives of Pakistani people in the parliament who patronize the Taliban mindset, who instead of condemning it, instead of taking actions against it, continuously act like PR managers of Taliban. And they want their offices to be opened in Islamabad. I just have no words.
Yes. Okay, we'll definitely come to opening offices as well. I could hear the despair and the dissent in the tone of Dr. Ijaz and I. So I want to ask, I mean, do you really think that you are safe in Pakistan anymore?
No, it's not a question of being safe or unsafe. See, people die in accidents. People drown, people are killed. So many people have been killed in the recent earthquakes. Even today, there was another earthquake. See, the thing is that humanity as a whole is at stake in Pakistan. It's the question of humanity. It's the question of interpretation of Islam. I feel Islam is at the loser's end. I'm nothing against them. But if you calculate it from a neutral point of view, Islam is at the losing end. They are interpreting Islam in such a way, nobody agrees to that. And we must all condemn it in the first place. Why you are inflicting humanity? See, a Muslim, a Christian, a Hindu, whosoever, they have to follow their own personal faith. God has given liberty to each and every individual. Father and son, they differ over matters of faith. Father and daughter and wife, they differ on knowledge and matters of faith. So, the Taliban are nobody to dictate terms of Islam. They are doing it in the name of Islam. And every Muslim, every human, they must condemn this sort of pressure which they are trying to build on the state and on the society, that if you don't agree with us on matters of faith, we'll kill you.
So it is more about that coercive approach they have, that you have to, either you are with us or against us.
No, in simple words, we have to say no to hate philosophy. And we need to speak to those people who are supporting, defending, and being their advocates.
Okay, Asim, I want to bring you in. Obviously, no to hate, support, but as Ali mentioned, that there are so many people who've been, and actually I think as well personally, that they are the mouthpiece of Taliban. So Taliban don't need any spokesperson. So they are representing Taliban. So what is your opinion on that?
I think first, going back to what Ali was saying, I definitely know when Taliban came into being. I was referring to the violence, the time period of that violence, which kind of goes for a good 10, 11 years, not to the actual timeline when Taliban had started. So I definitely am aware of that. I think secondly, I think we have to be, see, it's one of those things. I mean, it's not that, I think currently it seems to have become in vogue that PTI, we are the sympathizers for Taliban. Actually, it's not that. I mean, even today, I mean, Imran Khan has said that is every single political party. Guys, we have to obviously take that into consideration. There are 4 APCs have taken place. In all these 4 APCs, the conclusion has always been dialogue. So you need to have a dialogue. Okay. And it's not just PTI's view, and we are saying that within the remit, within the constitution as well, nothing extra constitutional or anything like that. So but it has to end. And how do you end it? Okay, you have two options. If you want to carry on, Pakistan has spent 10 years in that war. What exactly have we gained? We have our economy has collapsed, our social composition has gone, our communities, our Christians, Hindus, every single
But you know,
Pakistan.
Asim, I mean, I would disagree, and I have disagreed on different forums as well. When you say in that war, 40,000 people have been killed, 4
More
fallen
than 40.
generals, and
The people
senior.
calculate over 50.
Okay, let's make it 50,000 civilians. They've been killed on both sides, and you still
Army
say that
people.
it's not our war. I mean, which is, I don't understand it.
I mean,
Army
okay,
people,
okay. Hang on a
army
minute.
people have been slaughtered, and their videos
Yes,
have been
that's
displayed.
correct as well.
Dr. Saab, I totally agree that in that total you have army, you have our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, every single Pakistani. So I totally agree.
Khalsa, please give me a second. You are as Pakistani as I am, and I have nothing against any philosophy whatsoever. But let's go to the root causes of why this thing is happening.
Okay,
See,
let's go to the
thing
root
is
cause.
that Pakistan is a geopolitical, in a very delicate geopolitical situation. There are proxy wars, and we have intentionally become a part of that proxy war. Our politicians are on the payroll of certain forces. Our Taliban are on the payroll of certain
No, I
forces.
understand, but let's
Okay.
Go to
let's
the bottom
we will come to
go
that.
to the bottom.
We will come to that,
Okay.
Dr.
I
Ijaz.
mean,
I want to talk
I-
about the ground realities at the moment, which is actually happening or which is in front of us. There are obviously so many conspiracy theories, but Asim, please continue.
Please. See, the thing is,
I would
if
like to
somebody
answer
is
Dr. Saab's
defending- If
question.
somebody is defending or supporting the Taliban, the first thing that they should tell them is to stop all this.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we should
We
proceed.
will get back to you, Dr. Ijaz.
Can I carry on?
Yeah, sure. Asim.
Dr. Saab, with due respect, I totally understand. First thing, let me add, it was not PTI who actually went into the war with against the Russians. It was in 80s. It happened.
Ali, now,
And
Ali, we are talking about the talks now. So I want to jump into this Newsweek article, which is actually of 28th September. Shahidullah Shahid says that there are 3 steps which need to be required for confidence building. A spokesman of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan: pull out all the army forces from the federal FATA area, release our prisoners, and end drone attacks. And then they say these are not the preconditions as well. They'll set their conditions after. So are we trying to negotiate, or do you think this is something even in which common sense accepts?
Swat, General Niazi, 2 days after this, they attacked the church after this. So are we going to dialogue and going out of the way for them? We have had 7 talks with them before. Swat happened before you. Don't you remember what happened in Swat? We had a peace treaty with them that they breached. But again, let's try. But don't go to a level where we floor for terrorists. It will be damaging not only for the very foundations why this country was made. That is to make Pakistan a place where everyone can follow his or her own religion, and religion is not enforced upon people. So I think this question of going to peace talks or going to dialogue is everyone agrees with it. We don't want war, but on one conditions, that is the problem. They did not mention, the Taliban did not mention that we want offices started up in Islamabad and different places. But this one politician who calls himself revolutionary comes up and says, oh yes, let's have offices. That is flooring for terrorists. That is lowering your position as a state, as a party that has a lot of majority in one particular province. So that is the approach that I was talking about. I agree with what Mr. Khan is saying. We must have dialogue, but dialogue with an upper hand. We are the state of Pakistan. We represent the state of Pakistan. We don't represent terrorists or a terrorist ideology that patronizes and gives them space and time to take over more territory, to do more atrocities on our citizens. So that's my take on it. I want dialogue. I want people to talk and to resolve conflicts. But this is the precedent that has been set, is that they breach the
previous treaties as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't.
Yeah, Dr. Ijaz, I want to ask you, I mean, Ali was mentioning that we shouldn't be flooring to the terrorists and these people, but don't you think it's already too late for that? We have already been in a defensive position.
Listen, what I want to say is that both of the options are useless. Both of the options we are considering are useless. Why? We are not going after the masters. If we go for a dialogue, who will guarantee that whatever is agreed in the dialogue will be implemented? Unless we identify the masters behind them and we speak to them and bring them on the table. We identify them, we expose them, bring on the table, and I will name clearly that United States, some of the Western states, and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they are sponsoring them, they are supporting them, they are feeding them, they are protecting them, and our Pakistani politicians and many others, they are just nodding at the words of their paymasters.
Okay.
So my suggestion is that we should have a wider playground, we should have a wider conference, involve the forces, international forces. You very well know China coming over to Gwadar through Pakistan is a big issue for international forces. They want to keep crisis in this country. They are putting in a lot of money. Then there is another bloc, the bloc of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They have their own agendas about Islam, about the interpretation of Islam, about their tussle with Iran. So we must go after the masters who are supporting, paying for this proxy war. That is my analysis of that.
That's what you think. Okay. Asim?
Could I add something? Could I add something?
Ali, please.
There are more than 127 militant groups operating in Pakistan, including the Baloch separatists. Why aren't we going to dialogue with the rest 126? Why only TTP? Why not Lashkar-e-Jhangvi? Why not Sipai Sahaba, who exists in 1980s and have been killing Shias and Sufis in Pakistan for the last 30 years, not because of drones, not because of the US war, because it's an ideological war. What about them? Why not go to dialogue with them? What about the rest 126 militant outfits in this country? The precedent
don't you take them as an umbrella organization? I mean, Taliban as an umbrella organization?
No. I agree with Ali that even today, in the earthquake struck areas, the Balochistan Liberation Army, they fired upon the army rescue workers, they killed some of them. So they are working on their own. Ali is right in what he is saying. Why not a dialogue with all the people?
I would just
why not a dialogue with their masters?
Yeah, sir. I had discussions with some of my contacts in the army that why don't we have dialogue with the Baloch separatist terrorists? And they said that because it challenges the state of Pakistan. So TTP, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, who attacked GHQ and PNS Mehran and killed 50,000 innocents, do not challenge the ideology and the foundations of Pakistan, but the Baloch separatists who are fighting a separatist war does. It's just this confusion that some politicians have created, patronizing certain mindsets in this country. I will say no more. I think we're intelligent enough to...
Okay, Asim, your take. There are 2-3 questions in that all, so I would want to give you some time now to talk about it.
My take is very simple. Basically, it's years and years of basically what has been going on in Pakistan. The way the state should have played their role. Everything kind of interplays. The political instability, we don't have, the economy is not right, the social composition. I mean, we have never invested our time in education, building an infrastructure for Pakistan, giving the opportunity to everyone. See, it's all those things. So you have all that going on as well. Plus, you have all the geopolitical, as Dr. Ijaz Sahab was saying, and I totally agree with him as well, that there are too many people, too many nations basically trying to go for either the proxy wars and trying to go for their pieces in Pakistan, whether it's India, whether it's US, whether it's Saudis, whether it's anyone. So what do you do basically? Now you have a situation. I mean, we can be in a situation here, or I mean, currently in the media, it seems to be that there is a lot of debate going on. There's a lot of analysis going on. It seems to be everybody has pointed their fingers and guns towards Imran Khan and PTI. But what he is saying is not something, is purely, it's common sense, it's logical. Because if you, okay, if all of you we are saying is that we want to have a dialogue, how do we do a dialogue? If we are, we going to have a dialogue with, how many of the media people have ever been to Fatah? So we need to have somewhere we can start off that initiation. Okay, you don't want to have an office in Islamabad, we can have an office.
But I think what Ali was trying to say was that you do not act and a step forward. I mean, you have offered them the peace talks.
No. The thing is this, I'd say, basically, see, the government of the Pakistan, we are in just KPK, okay? The federal government, that's the official view that has to go from there, and they've all agreed within the APC as well, the dialogue, okay? If you do not want to have an office in Islamabad, if the government says, then have an office in Fatah or in Afghanistan, but it has to start from somewhere. How could you have a dialogue with someone? Are we going to have a dialogue through people, through TTP and all the other groups as well, through media or through newspaper cuttings? How are we going to do that? I mean, look at the history. I mean, look at the Vietnam and the Americans. It took them 2 years, basically, a non-stop diplomacy and the non-stop conversations and dialogues to actually come to an agreement. It has always taken like that. I know the damage that has taken place in Pakistan is huge, but we need to move on towards, and we need to heal ourselves. There is no doubt about the pain we all carry. I mean, you don't have to be, I don't have to be a Christian, I don't have to be a Sunni or Shia. We are all Pakistanis. I'm Muslim, Dr. Saab is Christian, but we're all Pakistanis and we're all going through that pain. So why keep hurting each other, basically, rather than have that unity? And the point that if we need to have a dialogue, then we press upon these politicians, press upon these political parties, press upon the current government of Pakistan, that these are the things that and everything should be done under the constitution. When you talk about the constitution, that means the state will not actually be looking at all the requirements that are being placed through them in the media, in the newspapers. The state will be working from the constitution. When you say the word constitution, constitution takes care of all those concerns, which many of our friends seem to have. So it shouldn't be, we have to be very calm. We have to be very calm in the sense that it's a huge terrorism and all the militancy and all the things that has taken place, whether it's in Quetta, whether it's in Peshawar, whether it's in Karachi, anywhere in Pakistan, we have to deal with. There are patterns that are emerging. For instance, I mean, think about it. In last government, there are 2,200 cases. 22, how many people, how many investigations Rahman Malik had actually pledged to have taken into place? Nothing came out. You need to, when we say identify, you need to identify that there may be people. You need to invoke the tribals, the people of the Fatah area. I mean, these people are basically, you've just left them out in the open at the mercy of TTP and all the other militancy as well. We need to get them on board. The government of Pakistan has to take some concrete steps. They have to have a plan of action, which they should be working towards.
Okay.
They cannot be having a staggered approach that somebody says something like that, somebody says something like that, and the whole, basically everybody starts panicking. So the first thing is this: we shouldn't panic. Second thing is this: we should trust the leadership as well. We should trust the army as well, the leaders of Pakistan, especially the elected government, that they will take steps in consideration with all.
But here is the elected government, which when he left, Prime Minister Sharif, when he left Islamabad, he was giving different statements. When he ends up in UN, he gives totally different statements.
Well,
so how we can trust that sort of leadership?
Well, if we cannot trust, then I'm afraid, I'm sorry, Dr. Saab, let me finish that okay. If we cannot trust these people, then these people should not have been brought in to serve the people of Pakistan. Why are these people the prime ministers of Pakistan? See, that's the thing. That's the argument that can be played.
But don't you think we leave everything on the leaders We, as a civil society, we don't have to do anything?
Okay, as a civil society, we promote, we create that awareness, and we form that opinion. And that's a very good step, Sayed, that is taking place within different parts of Pakistan through media as well, through all, and people like Dr. Saab and Ali in Sweden. All these different opinions obviously will find its way through to when they actually make a recommendation and when they decide a particular approach. Now you have decided that there has to be a dialogue. Obviously the dialogue will carry different dimensions as well. How are we going to speak? What will be the remit of those conversations? Who is going to be the guarantor? Whether it'll be the ceasefire? And all these things, there has to be a 100-page plan before you even go and speak with them. So, see,
and obviously there is no plan. Okay, let me bring in Dr. Ijaz now. Dr. Ijaz, you have discussed the proxy wars. I want to talk to you about something short-term plan. I mean, this is something you're referring as a long-term, that you have to engage with these big players. What is a short-term solution to all this?
That is what I was trying to say by addressing Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan, I live in the constituency where Dr. Arif Alvi won the seat.
He's at 250.
And yeah, he is a friend of mine. I voted for him. So my intentions are not based on political conveniences. And I would request the whole of Pakistan and all the Pakistanis that come out of these limited political arenas. Let's unite as a nation and address the real causes. See, there are so many criminals who are working in the name of Taliban all over Pakistan.
Thank you, sir. Totally agreed.
Yeah, yes. I rub shoulders with MQM, I rub shoulders with Noon League. These are all my parties. They are Pakistani parties. And none of them is giving satisfactory services to their people. None of them. We are all on the same page. We must talk about the basic reasons of this crisis. Why this crisis is being allowed to continue. Somebody is gaining out of this crisis, and it is imposed on us. And unless the people of Pakistan, they take the ownership of this society, unless they take the ownership of the entire nation, not only of KPK or Punjab or of Sindh, we are so much divided, and we keep on pointing our fingers to other people. I strongly suggest that we have to stop this attitude. We don't need to point fingers on anybody because we are all failures as a nation. It is the need of the day that we all unite. Whatever the majority says, we must listen to that. The other day, I think it was yesterday, Asad Umar, who is a very dignified person, he said, this is not our party policy. And I agree with him that the Taliban have offices all over Pakistan.
In different shapes.
They speak to the journalists. They have their numbers. They have communication. They have links. They have contacts, and perhaps they also have instructions from the masters from Pakistan and from outside. So we have to have a realistic stand to eliminate this evil from our society.
Totally agreed. Totally agreed.
Okay, but what is the short-term solution, Dr. Ijaz? And that's what I want to ask. I know these
are just say no to them. We just say no to them.
I mean, there has to be some obviously repercussions to that.
And Imran Khan and Nawaz Sharif, they are on the same page, and so is Maulana of JUIE.
Fazlur Rahman.
They are all on the same page. We all know that. And why are we hiding behind lame excuses?
Okay.
It's a real threat to Pakistani society. It is a real threat to our economy. It is a real threat to the nation. And we must say no. No to KSA, no to US, no to Taliban, no to all the factions of these people
who try to coerce. Okay, Ali Zaidi, What do you think? What is the short-term solution? I mean, if you talk about the conflict management or conflict resolution, I mean, how we can achieve peace in that area? I'm talking about the short term.
Zaidi, I have worked in that area. I've worked in Swat since the operation there, and when Taliban were taking over there, I was one of the very few activists who were present on ground in Swat during the Taliban takeover, and when Nizam-e-Adal was proposed and the peace treaty was signed. And I worked in Parachanar, where no one likes to talk about Parachanar, the siege there in the 7 years. Let me tell you, the people of FATA, like like Asim Khan Saab from PTI said, they are taken hostage by this militant group, which have many criminal elements running all across Pakistan, like Dr. Ijaz pointed out. Now, if many criminals in this country are doing their criminal activities in the name of Taliban, and we are offering them, I don't know, we are going out of the way to bring them on board. We have offered them talks, and they have the conditions that they have mentioned and the actions that they have followed after this offer clearly indicate that they're not serious. The killing spree is going on. So apart from the military offensive that Pakistan Army is still doing, General Kiani has given a very strong statement that it should not be considered the weakness of the Pakistan Army that if we are talking about talks. We are talking about talks for the benefit of the masses of the people of Pakistan. Only the short-term solution is military action combined with counter-radicalization programs, softer programs aiming at the people who are who can be potentially radicalized. Who have the potential of being radicalized. So one thing is de-radicalization. De-radicalization is for the people already radicalized. That is the TTP, that is the Al-Qaeda, that is Sipah Sahaba, that these are the militants running it. The other thing is counter-radicalization. The state, the governments, provincial and the national, they have to start counter-radicalization policies, which include the curriculum, which include the media, which include the mindset of this nation, the narrative of this nation, so that future generations and the youth who in their confused nature or identity crisis join these groups, they are stopped for the future. That's the only way a criminal or a criminal group is prosecuted anywhere in the world. But I would pray that these talks happen. Although I know for a fact they won't, I know for a fact that these militants, because their ideology is expansionist, they don't stop at one place. They went from Swat to Malakand. They breached the talks because they wanted to expand their version of Sharia. It's in their ideology. It's common sense. If we keep on giving them space and time, it will be more devastating for Pakistan. I hope the talks work. I hope their office works good. I hope I'm able to fax them. And they don't kill me.
Okay,
and I pray.
On that lighter note, we'll take a break now, and when we come back after the break, viewers, we'll talk about their ideology, this logic of military action against these militants in FATA as well as in the northern Western front. Join us after the break. Welcome back, viewers. We are joined by Dr. Taqi, lead columnist for Daily Times Pakistan. Thank you very much, Dr. Taqi, for joining us. We are talking about the 22nd September attack on this historic church in Peshawar, which claimed lives of almost 80 people. What's your initial reaction on that?
My initial reaction is that it was a devastating attack on the Peshawar Christians, specifically in my city of Peshawar in general. And the immediate reaction after that I had was that I really felt humiliated that the Christian community of Peshawar, which has been one of the most giving communities that my town has ever had, was attacked this viciously and in broad daylight. Scores of innocent people, their blood splattered on the white facade of that beautiful church that me and many Peshawaris like me have. It's like a fixture for us for decades. For generations of Peshawaris, it was known as the Girja. People would use it as a landmark, as I have pointed it out in one of my recent articles also. And we just felt ashamed that we were not able to do a thing about helping the Christian community who has helped the city for over 100 years. This church was built in 1883, and when the first services started, the city elders, the Pashtun tribal chieftains, they all attended those services. So from an era of such harmony, we have come to a situation today where the Christians are not safe, and for that matter, not many people are safe anyways. And I, on a personal level, feel that I have benefited immensely from the Christian community of my city. I have had some great teachers in my school who were Christians, some great healers, nurses. Those folks have served Peshawar very well. We have mission schools, we have mission hospital, and Edwards College, and there's an Edwards School right next to the church that was devastated. This school is actually the oldest standing school in the Northwest Frontier region, and specifically in the province of Pakhtunkhwa. It was about 1850 when that was built.
So do you think it's a more sort of symbolic attack on the wider society as well, that, for example, going back to the Bamiyan Buddha's statues, devastated those, or is it more targeted on Christian community itself?
Well, the Christian communities around Pakistan, and specifically in Peshawar, they are one of the most peaceful people. I don't think that they've as much as swatted a fly ever. So going after them for any other reason but to instill fear in the heart of the city and terrorize its citizens, there is no other reason to do that. Maybe the Buddha statues had some historic symbolic relevance. This church is indeed a historic church, but overall the message being sent is that we'll get you no matter who you are, where you are. And frankly, this was a softest of the soft targets, easy to get to and easy to destroy, and Taliban did it. And apparently, the more concerning part is that they seem to be getting away with it. There initially was a hue and cry and a significant response across the country and indeed internationally, all the way from Vatican and US. But what happened that by the same evening, people like Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf's leader Imran Khan and even the Federal Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar, they were out making excuses and legitimizing and redirecting towards the so-called talks that they have been talking about. It was abhorrent, really. I felt nauseated listening to some of the drivel coming out of these leaders, that 83 corpses laid there, and Peshawris were helping their Christian brothers actually bury those caskets. And these guys, especially Imran Khan, he barely stopped short of blaming the Christians for bringing it upon themselves, and he was bending over backwards to make excuses for his Taliban friends.
Okay, we have also spoken to Asim regarding this, and I want to move on from here now. We're talking about the peace talks, and I want to start with Ali Zaidi now. If we don't go for the peace talks, what other options we have? You said military strike, but we have seen it hasn't worked. Do you think it's going to work in Pakistan? If you talk from the so-called people who have initiated the idea of dialogue.
Zaidi, I believe the mighty Pakistan army and the mighty intelligence apparatus of Pakistan has not been very loyal to defeating Taliban in Pakistan. Their double games with their own citizens and with the international community has brought us here. They started this back in the 80s, and they're responsible for everything that is happening right now. I don't think they have, with 100% loyalty and focus, tried to eliminate these terrorists in this country. They are so busy chasing the peace activists. For example, people like myself, when we work in conflict-ridden areas, we receive calls every day. They want to know our whereabouts, like we are peace activists, and they can't chase terrorists who are killing our own people. So I believe if the Pakistan army stops its policy of hypocrisy towards its own citizen, towards the international community, and towards the state of Pakistan, things might be better.
Okay.
But like I said, the military strike against terrorists, against criminals, has to be accompanied with counter-radicalization policies from all state machinery, not just the army, which will show its effect. Right now, it's just the military action, half-hearted military action, aided with political hypocrisy and no counter-radicalization programs, which is not helping. So that's my recommendation to it.
Okay, half-hearted, you said military action. Asim, military action, do you have, what exact reservations you or your party has regarding the military
I think we've always really opposed the idea of having a military actions, and if you do have a military actions, you have a very in a confined space, basically. I mean, if the, as Ali is saying, if the half-hearted military reaction has taken 40,000 lives, perhaps, I mean, if it was fully hearted, perhaps it could have been more or less. But the fact of the matter is that it has to be basically seen as that if you need to move forward, then you obviously need to take some courageous steps as well. I mean, the military option is always there. Nobody's stopping you. But has anybody really given a chance? Has anybody's wanted to have a conversation with these guys? I mean, if we look at the Americans...
I remember, I don't know if you obviously vaguely remember the pictures, Bayatullah Masood signing the documents with the GOC Peshawar at those time in 2007, I think it was. And
Haider, I would like to
please
take a few moments. First off, about the success or failure of the military operations and whether they are half-hearted or not. There certainly is a schism within the Pakistani army. Some of the people wish to fight and take the fight to the Taliban, and then there are other people who want to preserve some of their assets for the so-called Afghan endgame after 2014, especially after April 2014. Having said that, the Pakistan army, wherever it has acted, no matter how reluctantly, has been quite successful in actually containing the menace of Taliban. It was able to succeed in Swat. It was able to succeed in almost six tribal agencies and many provincially administered tribal areas. Out of about 15 or 16 administrative zones in that region, only one is actually out of the army's control, although they are there, but for whatever reason they don't wish to act. So saying that the 10 years of fighting has not worked is outlandish. It has delivered results. It could have been much better if the army had put its heart to it, and it would have produced significant results. I still think that Pakistan Army is a capable fighting force. It does have the capacity to actually take the fight to the militants. It does have to decide whether they would want to pursue the use of jihadist assets as instruments of foreign policy elsewhere, because unless they actually abandon that policy or try to modify that, they would continue to have the fellow travelers of those jihadists actually raising havoc inside Pakistan. So that's one thing. The second thing is about the negotiations. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and its likes have maintained this, that the negotiations, peace has never been given a chance. Nothing can be farther from truth. At every level, there has been a negotiation effort. You mentioned Baitullah Masood. Before that, Naik Mohammad Wazir, the first TTP leader, he signed an agreement with the Pakistani army, 2004, thereabouts. And then he violated the agreement within days. And similarly, there was a Swat agreement between Awami National Party, People's Party government, and the TTP Swat through the offices of Mullah Sufi Muhammad.
Yeah.
So, you know, the history is littered with peace agreements which the Taliban shred to pieces the very next day. They are never sincere in actually conducting talks. So this idea that the talks have never been conducted is absolute
Dr. Thaki, come on, hang on a minute. Fine, I've taken your point. I've listened to the question, which I supposedly need to answer that. Look, I mean, the thing is this: whenever you start, there may have been attempts on the talks with all the different parties, but how serious those talks were, how focused the attempts was made either by the military or the political establishment, and now basically what you have there is that if you want to, we are not saying don't go for military options. By all means, go for military operations as well. It's already carrying on. But if you need to basically end this thing which is going on for last 12 years, you need to basically, you should have invoked the peace and the identification of all these people and all their dialogues in parallel to the military operations. That had never taken place. There may have been one or two attempts, but there has been
No, there has been at least 16. I'm sorry.
Let me say,
can I just answer,
16
Dr.
attempts.
Thaki?
Okay.
Dr. Thaki, can I just answer that? Can I just answer that, please? Thanks. There may have been attempts, okay, but those attempts does not necessarily mean that you cannot go for the next attempt.
Okay, so Asim, what you're trying to suggest that we will keep on waiting?
No, I'm trying to suggest is, but basically I'm trying to say is that if the government of Pakistan has taken a decision in the APCs, there have been 4 APCs attended by all the political parties and everyone, that we need to invoke dialogue, that means there has to be a consensus around that. Now, certainly, there has been basically everybody is sprung up. Oh no, we need to have a military options. We need to have this. People in the media and everybody is basically going for that. The attacks won't stop. You need to identify who the enemy is. You need to identify. You need to validate what exactly is going on. Nobody knows. Nobody knows how many groups there are. Somebody says there are 126. Somebody says there are 46. How do we know?
So this could be used against your own argument as well. That whom you will be talking to.
So
Haider, I would like to address
can I just finish that? So basically, who's going to do that? So there is going to be a collaborative effort between the agencies, between the army, between the establishment and the government of Pakistan. There has to be a collaboration in identifying who exactly these people are. You're not going to expect that some citizen from Faisalabad or Lahore is going to do all the way to FATA areas or all over the place to actually do the reconnaissance and come up with the report.
Okay. Okay, let me move to Dr. Taki quickly. Yes, Dr. Taki, your response, please.
I think that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and its leaders and its workers have got their history facts wrong.
No, we haven't. I think you just
don't interrupt. Now listen me out. Hear me out. Don't
let me add that 14 agreements are a part of history.
Certainly, and
they have been signed by both sides.
Okay.
And let me say something about the seriousness of. They keep claiming that the talks were not serious. You know, if the GOC of a region, the corps commander is involved, the provincial government and governor are involved, it just does not get any more serious than that. But maybe it does. Let me talk about the Nizam-e-Adl ordinance. You took it to the Pakistani parliament. Pakistani parliament actually endorsed it. You know, this is the highest level of seriousness that the Pakistani state has showed. So the Tehreek-e-Insaf argument that people have not been serious, you know, that is absolute wrong, and it's hogwash, really. They are hoodwinking people saying this. Now, let's talk about who...
Just stay on the argument rather than the PTI. Just stay on the facts and the figures and the actual what we're talking
PTI,
about.
So PTI needs to hear it. You know, this
we're hearing it every day.
Awesome, PTI is our PTI.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Taki, please go ahead.
Yes, and then when you say that you don't know who the groups are and who's actually doing it, you know, this is absolute nonsense. The Taliban groups, whether it is one group or 36 group, each one of them individually accepts. Yesterday, the Peshawar bombing was accepted by the Moman Taliban, taking the nation into a... You're pulling wool over on people's eyes.
And that's why move on to the next.
There can be multiple groups. If the Tehreek-e-Insaf people don't know them, you know, that's something that they should have worked on. They had 10 years to actually do some homework and actually open some channels. They did not. And right now they're playing politics with this thing. They basically want to pin it on Nawaz Sharif and the old government and this people and the other people. Basically what they are doing immediately after this church attack, they are making, you know, outlandish excuses for the TTP. They are essentially the fellow travelers of the TTP. They are creating an ideological space for the TTP in which it is rearming, regrouping, you know, filling up its logistics and killing with impunity every single day. Saying this, that the army operation can be put on hold, things don't happen this way. In war, you don't take an R&R recess, go home, come back. No, the army action has to go on. And whatever was said in the APC is understandable, but it was about a dialogue, not about capitulating like this, where you're talking about giving them offices in this place or that, and where do you stop? Next time there's a staff car that you need to give them.
I
Next
think
time
we've
there is.
already.
Okay, let's move on and let me.
Can I just say? Can I just one thing? Can you just moderate the way it has to take place? We've already answered these questions, regarding offices and everything. Okay, we keep going back to the same things.
No, that's why Asim, I said earlier as well, Dr. That he joined in late, so he has to answer that.
You should have briefed him.
Okay, let's move on from this political debate to more sort of a social interpretation of this. Bishop Dr. Ijaz Inayat, we were talking about the short-term solution for this problem. We know about the larger scale, that obviously proxy war and those narratives, but on very ground level, what can be done to challenge this ideology?
Short-term level, we just need to talk to those countries, those forces who are supporting them, and tell them not to do that.
But we are not in that shape. We don't have an economy.
It's very simple. You see, we are in the state of denial. We are in the state of denial. We need to accept realities. We just need to identify them and tell them, please stop it. See,
and do you think they'll listen?
Yes, they will listen.
Okay, that's very wishful thinking, I must say.
When you start speaking truth, people listen. It may take a longer time than you expect, but eventually they'll listen. See, I've been putting this on different internet links, on Facebook, on other things, and there are positive responses to that.
Okay. Ali, you wanted to say something earlier.
I would just like to add one thing, that today, Saturday, Imran Khan reiterated his demand, renewed his demand that Taliban should be given offices. Okay, if we understand that. Now, try to grasp the wisdom behind it, that Imran Khan says that we are going to talk with India, so why not go to talks with the Taliban? India is a state. India is a state, is an entity. These are the non-state actors. If we set the precedent of going to talks with non-state actors who kill Pakistani citizens, then there will be no end. Then it will be like, okay, I stand up, I want my version of religion or politics enforced upon you, and I will kill and I will use terrorism as a tool. Will you give me offices? Will you give me a space to maneuver? I just fail to understand the logic, or I find it humorous at times. The logic that some leaders give. And the comparisons that they draw, playing with the emotions of 50,000 people who have died and their families. This is almost 20 million people affected by the terrorists. It just makes me sad. It makes me laugh at times.
Okay, Asim, let's move to the role of army. I mean, we're talking about that they've been fighting there for the last 10 years. They have heartily been fighting. What makes them? They got 4 fallen generals behind them, and there are 5,000 soldiers. I mean, if army is fighting and they have these casualties behind them, they should be fighting and should be eradicating all this, don't you think so? If they are already in that sort of situation, rather than just containing this?
The thing is this, basically, you have USA that has been fighting in Afghanistan for last so many years. Even they have initiated, or they are keen to hold a dialogue. The same goes for Pakistan as well. Pakistan has been in this war for such a long time, and it's not just the operation that is taking place around these areas. It has literally, basically, eradicated every single thing that was in Pakistan, all its composition. We don't have any infrastructure, our education, our health, everything has gone. We have so many other issues. On top of that, and this war, and what exactly have we actually gained out of this? After having lost our army personnel, young officers, our civilians, why can't we just, I'm a bit sort of trying to figure it out. Why is this the concept of dialogue and peace, regardless of who the enemy is? It seems to have become so abhorrent that the very mention of word office seems to have sparked
but Asim, I think
why not have a ministry for Taliban?
I would make a comment here.
Can I just finish, please? Can I just finish?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. the same government of Pakistan, okay, the same government of Pakistan had the Taliban embassies here as well. The Taliban was accepted by the Pakistanis as well, okay? So you can't just basically say everything, oh no, the PTI, this and this, that. You have to, if you want to look into the history, I can go into the history as well.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that we need to move forward. We need to move forward with the consensus, in a collaborative approach with the army, with all the agencies and the government of the Pakistan and all the provincial governments as well, that we need to tackle this. And what is the best way to tackle this? Simple as that. Do you want to tackle this through military operation, or do you want to tackle this through peace dialogue? And if you go through the peace dialogue, you may have certain elements that may want to go with the peace, and the rest, the criminals and all the people who are, as Dr. Ejaz is saying, Bishop Ejaz is saying, that the countries or the people, whether it's India, Israel, Britain, whoever they are, then you go after them. Anybody.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Can I just finish that
Please.
off? But for that, you need to have an economy. If you want to fight the wars of the world, you need to have the economy. We don't have any economy, or we don't have any education. We don't have nothing. And then we are spending huge amount of money and infrastructure in military already. So we need to realize this, that there comes a time where we have to put a stop to this. We have to reassess our priorities as well, and the damage that has taken place. And then we can move forward. And if the talks don't bring any sort of effective solution to that, then go back to military operations. They're already. Who's stopping you?
All right, Dr. Taki, role of army. I mean, obviously you mentioned.
I think a couple of historical inaccuracies need to be pointed out. The embassy that Pakistan had was for Afghan Taliban when they were holding power in Afghanistan. Pakistan has not had any TTP-style office legitimately.
Okay, let's move on from this. I understand. I mean,
this needs to listen.
Dr. Taki, I know.
Listen, I did not interfere in whatever you were saying, so just hold your silence, okay?
This is not a PhD lecture.
Please hold your silence. Hold your silence.
Holding myself.
Please do. Thank you. So that is one, an incorrect comparison. Second, when you say that they have an office in Doha, Qatar, the talks fell apart because it was accorded a certain recognition. Karzai actually pulled out of the talks. That office was not opened in Kandahar or Kabul. You know, what you are demanding is actually legitimacy and recognition for the TTP within Pakistan. Even Karzai did not do that. Second, when you compare TTP to IRA or say Vietnamese talk, Vietnamese had actually sent Uncle Ho Chi Minh directly to Paris to actually have negotiations. Show me one TTP person who has come out with any talks proposal. This is totally one-way street that we are pointing out, not a single TTP gesture, comment saying that they are open to negotiation. They have not appointed a point person who would actually initiate the negotiation. They have shown absolutely no intention. Now, it seems that unless the PTI types are now the political wing of the TTP, you know, they really don't have a political wing. In the IRA situation, you had Sinn Féin, you had Jerry Adams, his colleagues, who were actually doing negotiations on their behalf. They were entrusted. And one more thing is that IRA actually accepted everything that is modern, including a modern state. Now here you have an enemy who has absolutely no interest in accepting anything that has to do with the modern nation state. So there really is very little common ground where you actually go about and start negotiating.
Okay, but so tell us, Dr. Taki, quickly, role of army. I wanted to ask you about that. Why army, after having 5,000 soldiers dead, why it is so reluctant to go in and do this operation? Now, obviously, there are some sections in the army, within the army, but why there is no operation like LTT in Sri Lanka that could have happened now?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned Sri Lanka. You know, when people cite examples of how the insurgencies are dealt with, Sri Lanka is a success story, and military option was exercised. It definitely is a long drawn-out battle. As far as the Pakistani Army's capability goes, I don't have any doubt that Pakistan Army is capable of actually trouncing the TTP and eradicating it completely. Now, Pakistan Army operates within certain limitations. One, it has a certain policy of pursuing things in Afghanistan that it shouldn't be pursuing, and for that reason, it has to hold its peace with some groups that it considers, perhaps wrongly, its allies, including Jalaluddin Haqqani network, including certain Afghan Taliban, including Gulbuddin Hikmatyar. So it is Pakistan Army finds it difficult to actually go out and fight all those groups and fight the TTP simultaneously. The problem arises that the TTP takes sanctuary with the group who are considered the so-called good Taliban and are actually either protected or encouraged by the Pakistan Army. Now, Pakistan Army, on its part, will have to actually make up its mind at some point that how long it can continue this kind of policy. What I can tell you is...
even if you talk about the Haqqani group, which is the pro-Pakistani portrait, based in South Waziristan, and then we have the TTP based in North Waziristan. So why can't we use this divide and rule sort of politics even in there?
That's what I was going to point out, that there is no divide and rule as such. The Haqqani network and the TTP have shared suicide training camps. The TTP's suicide instructor, Qari Hussain, was running a camp jointly in Shawal, North Waziristan, along with Sirajuddin Haqqani. So that's where it gets really murky, where the good and bad Taliban are consorting quite openly, and people trained in those suicide camps are actually coming out and hitting Islamabad and Kabul and Peshawar and Kabul both. So that's where it becomes tricky. Now, Army on its part, I'm sure there is some introspection going on if some of the material that is coming out is to be believed. And at some point, they will have to eventually go after what they have considered good Taliban so far. When will that happen? I think it will happen only when you have a consensus, a political consensus and a political will to actually hold the army's feet to fire, to go out and act. Now, what is happening here is that, you know, we have been talking about stop Saudi Arabia and Gulf countries and whatnot. Most certainly, you know, you should definitely go and make an effort, and especially Mia Nawaz Sharif, who's on very good terms with those countries. But what is happening is that the people who are providing ideological space to the TTP are now predominantly Pakistanis. You have the five Pakistan Council types, you have Tehreek-e-Insaf, you have PML, who are actually legitimizing every act of terror and coming out making excuses for it every single day on national TV.
But you know, Doctor, before Asim jumps in, Dr. Taqi, you know, don't you think it's a smoke screen as well, that when PMLN doesn't do anything, it has to be blamed on PTI? PTI.
Right.
No, I said there are sections of PMLN also who actually drag their feet, and they do. Their information secretary, Senator Mushahidullah, was in a telephone interview with me 2 days ago, and then on national TV he repeated the same things. He's an absolutely callous man, basically saying that 83 people are dead, so what? We'll take our sweet time to go and negotiate.
Okay.
You know, the PML cannot be exonerated in this situation. Very responsible statement. Okay, we are about to end the program, so I want to start with Dr. Bishop. Your solution to this problem, aside on this political lines, and you know, what do you think? What can take it forward?
People of Pakistan wake up, take the responsibility, take the ownership, and they start speaking, like Dr. Taqi and Ali are speaking. Like I am speaking. And when you start speaking, this smoke screen, this will vanish.
Okay, so we have to go. Okay, Asim, your response, final remarks.
I think basically, to be honest with you, the time has come that we need to move forward, and if there is any way we can have a dialogue, a peaceful solution to this, we must pursue that. And the last thing I would like to add, I think it's becoming that if any nation, if any nation cannot even hold a dialogue in a peaceful manner with anyone, then I'm afraid they cannot even win their wars. So that is all I would like to say.
Okay. Awesome, as yet we are not a nation.
So we have to.
We are a scattered group.
We have to become a nation.
Ali Zaidi.
Yes.
Have education. Have health.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That's what I'm saying as well, Dr. Sir.
Ali Zaidi, your final remarks.
My final
thoughts,
advice or recommendation would be that the cancer has been identified in the body of Pakistan. It is the Taliban mindset. And the process to fight cancer takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of will. Dr. Taki would point out the cancer has been identified. Let's fight it. Let's eliminate it. There is no other way.
There's no another. Okay, Dr. Taki, your final thoughts.
I think that overwhelming force can certainly neutralize the TTP and its ilk. World War II was won by overwhelming power, not through dialogue. So this argument that the wars cannot be resolved, yes, they can be. And nation states have a responsibility to protect their sovereignty and their territorial integrity. And I think that it is the time for the Taliban apologists to rethink what they have been doing. In the name of dialogue, they are paralyzing the nation. And the intellectuals and opinion makers need to hold these guys' feet to fire and actually hold them accountable after every single attack that is carried out on the peaceful people. The chief minister of Pakhtunkhwa actually suspended the driver of the bus who was bombed. You know, this is the height of ridiculousness, that he cannot go and catch the TTP people and apologizes for them, and on top of that suspends a poor guy who's a driver and ekes out his living doing that. You know, this is the type of dialogue-minded people that we are dealing with. So, we have a two-way effort to make. One, you have to go fight the TTP, and then you have to fight the battle of narrative. And like the Honorable Bishop has been saying, there's a lot of confusion that needs to be cut through, and the dialogue that needs to happen is amongst ourselves. We need to figure out how do you go about countering the enemy and those who keep throwing up these smoke screens.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Taki from United States, Bishop Dr. Jaz from Karachi, and Ali Abbas Zaidi from Sweden, and Asim from London.
Thank you.
We had a hopefully a healthier discussion today, and I think this is about time that we finalize something that what need to be done, rather than just going backwards and forwards and planning something and then coming back and doing something else. With these prayer and dua, as always, gam humko na de siwaye gam shabbir ka gam baant raha hai to idhar de. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.